A dam safety supervisor is concerned about cracks in the LEL Dam in Converse County. New owners are breathing new life into Kemmerer's historic opera house, and the Wyoming Penitentiary All-Stars 1911 baseball team was a real-life murderer's row. We'll take a look at these stories and more today from Wyoming's largest news organization. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily. The LEL Dam in Converse County had seen more than double its intended 50-year service life when inspectors took a closer look at its hard-to-reach upper half in 2019. The intent of the inspection was to look for rockfall damage, but instead they found cracks in the dam's flying buttress structure, and that alarmed them enough to call for lowering the dam's authorized maximum capacity to 60%. Former dam safety supervisor Nathan Graves told Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines.
He said there's some worrisome cracks up toward the top of the dam. That's why they keep the water below a certain elevation. Bottom line, it should be okay for now, but the sooner we can replace it, the better.
Graves said that should the dam fail, everyone from the dam down to where the river crosses under I-25 would be in danger. Well, in a time where many geographic names are being changed due to perceived cultural sensitivities or political correctness, a long-time debate about renaming Devil's Tower in northeast Wyoming continues to simmer. Wyoming Senate President Ogden Driscoll, who with his family has lived in the shadow of Devil's Tower for more than a century, said he doesn't oppose geographic name changes, but he told Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi that the name Devil's Tower isn't and never was offensive.
He's the first one to admit that places that have been named derogatory terms for American Indians and African Americans and all sorts should be changed. That's the right thing to do. In the case of Devil's Tower, the name has been called offensive, but based on the history, it's a misunderstanding of an American Indian word.
Driscoll said that to rename such a well-known landmark could hurt tourism. When Jacob and Jessica Lozier heard Kemmerer's oldest building, the historic Opera House, could be sold and demolished, they bought it to realize their dream of operating a hometown mercantile with luxury loft apartments on the second floor. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that restoration of the building is nearing a grand finale that the Loziers believe will give the building at least another 100 years of life, come what may.
Jacob grew up in Kemmerer. He grew up with the Opera House, but he didn't know as much about the history until they bought the building to restore it. And Jessica, in her many travels, has come across all kinds of little cool shops. And so she's taking some of her favorite ideas, kind of wrapping them into one store in the Opera House.
Upstairs, work is underway to create luxury loft apartments to be offered next summer as short-term rentals on Airbnb. The Loziers believe the rental income will help support the shop downstairs while it's building a clientele. I'll be back with more news right after this.
No one should go hungry on Thanksgiving, and yet hundreds of men, women, and children from our community are homeless and hurting this holiday season. Yet you can provide hope. Just $2.58 provides a hot meal and life-changing services at the Wyoming Rescue Mission, like safe, welcoming shelter, support, and long-term recovery to help them get back on their feet. Learn more and give online at wyomission.org. That's wyomission.org.
Outdoors writer Mark Hines is doing a series on hunting in all 23 counties in Wyoming. It turns out that for hunters, Park County has it all.
Steep, rugged country, lots of elk, grizzly bears, maybe some mule deer, that sort of thing. But there's a lot more to Park County than that. You've got the Badger Basin, which is a great place for hunting antelope. You've got the North Fork and the South Fork, the lowlands down there, which are great for elk and deer. And then, you get out into the further eastern part of the counties and you've got really some great bird hunting, some great whitetail deer hunting. Really, for the one county that probably has nearly every single species of Wyoming wildlife in it, Park County is it.
And as baseball teams go, the 1911 Wyoming State Penitentiary All-Stars looked a lot like any other from the era. But as Cowboy State Daily's Jake Nichols discovered, the lineup included a murderer at shortstop, a burglar at third, and manning first base was a convicted rapist.
When I first heard about it, about a state prison baseball team that may have been playing for a chance to reduce their sentences or delay their execution dates, I thought it was too wild to be true. It turns out the most outrageous part of the story is pretty much true. What wasn't was almost everything else. Other present-day news sources, archived newspaper accounts over 100 years old, and a well-known book on the subject were all so erroneous, I just had to tell the real story.
You can read Jake's story at cowboystatedaily.com, where you'll find more stories about the people, places, and issues that are important to our readers and our residents. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily.